everybody, welcome to That's Weird Stuff, our show where we take deep dives into pop culture's recent releases. And we have a double showing for you today because if you remember our TV showing, we had to review three because we couldn't decide on one, and we couldn't decide on a movie this time. So we have two movies for you. It was split right down the middle.
I
A
hear
podcast,
lies.
We decided like right after the last show, and then
Yeah.
some people.
And
Yeah.
then we altered that decision like 4 or 5 days ago.
a podcast divided. So we got Lisa Frankenstein, or Sheen, or however you want to say it. And we have Madam Web from Sony. So Jared and Thomas went to see Madam Web, and they are going to share their thoughts on it. So take it away, Jared or Thomas.
Me to go or you go?
You can go first, and then
Oh, can I?
ye.
Okay, so it starts off as am I spoiling this for y'all, by the way?
Yeah,
You're-
that's fine.
How dare you?
Okay.
I'm so excited for this one.
Well, yeah, you should have gone to see it. You never mind. Okay, so it starts off in deepest, darkest Peru. Madam Web's mother, forgot her name, don't care about her name, is looking for a spider that apparently gives you god powers. And she finds the spider, but according to the internet, stepdad Antonio Banderas wants the spider for himself.
He's in that movie?
It's not, but
Oh.
people are calling him that. It's weird.
Oh,
He wants the spider for himself, so he kills her mother by shooting her, but she doesn't die right away. And then these spider people that are also in deepest, darkest Peru whisk her away to a cave where they're like, "You're shot, so we're gonna give you the spider bite, and hopefully it cures you and your daughter." And the spider bites her. She gives birth, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'm dying," and dies. And then like the spider people like, "She'll be back when we need her most." Cut to like 30 years later in 2003. Cassandra Webb. Is it Cassandra or Cassidy Webb? I forgot. Is it Cassandra?
It's Cassandra.
Yeah, they call her Cassie or something like that. She's a EMT in New York City, and she's like, "I'm an EMT," and then she almost dies because she falls into a river, and Adam Scott's in it for some reason, and like revives from Parks and Rec. He plays Ben. He revives her, but when he's like reviving her, she's getting like these flashes of the future, like of the distant, or not distant future, of like the immediate future. And then she thinks that it's all like in her head, and then for some reason we cut back to stepdad Antonio Banderas, who's having these visions of the future where he gets killed by these three spider women, and he's like, "I have to find these people, I have to find them." So he goes off and like sleeps with the NSA director and kills her, but he also has spider powers too from that spider that he took from from deepest darkest Peru.
It's his
And then
pet
he's
now.
like, yeah, it's his pet now. And so he needs to like find these women so he can kill them before they kill him. And then flashback to Cassandra Cain, who is seeing all these women for some reason, and she goes into a subway and she sees that stepdad Antonio Banderas walks into the subway, try to kill them all, but she's like, "No, no, no, you need to come with me." And they're like, "No, you're a stranger, and we're, teenagers, but we're obviously 28, 27 years old." And then they get into a cab for some reason, and then for the rest of the movie they use this one cab. Don't know why. She takes off,
But don't worry, she took the plates off.
She took the plates off. But guess what?
Unrecognizable.
It still has no plates.
Don't they have
You
like
still
low jacks on
They
them?
Many ways
So-
to detect them.
Anyway, so she like hides them in the forest, but then they don't want to hide in the forest. And so she goes off to go get, what did she go get? Oh yeah, her mom's journal. And then they go to a diner. The girls go to a diner and like try to like talk up some boys.
Toxic by Britney Spears just came out, so they're dancing on the
so
table.
they're dancing to that. And even the
on the table.
even the DJ is just like, "Guess what? This is gonna be huge." And so Cassandra has a vision of stepdad coming to like kill the girls, and so she goes in there before the stepdad can kill everybody and hits her with a car and is like, "We got to get out of here." And then she teaches them CPR.
She's not mad. She's disappointed.
She's
in them.
disappointed. And she teaches them CPR randomly in a hotel. And then she's like, I have to go to Peru to find out what's going on. So then she like dumps the girls off to Ben Scott, who by the way is also Ben Parker, name drop,
Uncle Ben.
whose sister is pregnant with some child, that child. And then once she goes
The
to
chosen one?
yes. Once she goes to deepest, darkest Peru, she finds the spider person, but it was a lot of them, but now it's just one for some reason in a cave. Don't even know how she found the cave. She just like walks into the forest. She's like, oh, it's there. And then
psychic.
Supposedly, yes. And then apparently she is psychic because
I don't think all the spider people are gone. I think he just met her there. Like,
yeah,
he knew.
But then apparently he's like, oh yeah, you got bit by the spider and your webs, as in your like
he's like, you can't do cool shit like jump on things, climb up things, shoot webs. You can see a little bit in the future.
Yeah.
But if you train enough, you can see a lot in the future and past. So
and then you can
like
maybe astral project, we think. Possibly.
I don't know what that was. That was weird.
I don't know either, but we'll get to that in a second. And so she's like, cool, awesome. And so we go back. She flies back to America.
Well, you missed the whole emotional scene. She thought her mom hated her.
Oh, yeah. Her mom hated her, apparently. Or she thought her mom hated her, but we don't really.
Because she went to Peru while she was pregnant. She's like, oh, she doesn't care about me. But in her little past adventure, she had some kind of birthing defect that would kill her. So her mom was actually there to save her.
Yeah.
And she forgot all her trauma.
Recording stopped.
Joseph disappeared. He couldn't take this. He couldn't take the awesomeness.
I'm still recording if you guys want to keep talking about it. Finish your movie.
So we get to we go back from deepest, darkest Peru. And then Ben's sister is going into labor, and we're like, we have to get her to the hospital. And so they get into the car, and then apparently what's his stepdad's like technology is able to track her because of face recognition. And then he meets them and he's like fighting them, and she's like, no, you go to the hospital, I'll take the girls. And then we transfer to a warehouse, right?
Yes.
That's full of explosives, but not just explosive, it was like fireworks. High explosive fireworks is what they said. And then she's like, don't worry, I have a plan, but we're not sure what that plan is because it seems like she's just making this up as she goes along. And then we go up to the roof while all the fireworks are being set off, and stepdad's chasing them through the building, and they get up onto the roof, and she's like, don't worry, I'll protect my girls because I have psychic powers, I think. And then like is like predicting where all the fireworks are gonna hit, so she like moves people and shoots things, or not shoots things.
She's like Captain America with her little shield.
She's got her little shield of like aluminum
corrugated metal.
Yeah. and then she's like, oh, don't worry, like get up there.
Pepsi will save us, ladies.
Get up onto the PepsiCo sign that PepsiCo has been dropped all like throughout this movie. And then what is it? They get separated because stepdad comes up and like separates them all, and then she astral projects everybody.
Yeah, he's like, you can't save them all.
You can't save them all. And then she like astral projects herself to like save them, but not really save them. She's just like, good job. Doesn't really do anything. And then stepdad hits her. And I'm trying to think of what else happened, how she got into the water. Stepdad got blown off and like onto the ground. The PepsiCo sign fell on him because PepsiCo saved the day. And then while she's in the water, the fireworks are going off, and one of them hits her in the face for some reason underwater. Don't know how that happened.
Didn't really look like it hit her face either. It looked like it hit her shoulder, but now she is paralyzed and blind.
Paralyzed and blind. And so
the explosive fireworks, yes.
The whole movie ends with she's like, don't worry, they were never your future. They were mine. And I'm like, cool. And so then we see her in the chair. We're like, oh, she's paralyzed and blind. And then we get like a flash forward to the future where they have superpowers, we think. And that's it. That's the movie.
Sounds like a thrill.
More or less.
What did you think of it, Thomas? What was your overall impressions? 10 out of 10? 11? Oh my God, you're going 15 on this one.
I almost walked out of this movie, and I don't do that. I'd stay and watch a movie, but I'm not joking. When she went to Deepest Darkest Peru, I about left the theater. I'm like, I don't have anything in me. This movie was, and I'm not even like, this isn't hyperbole, by the way. This is honestly one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life.
This was no worse or better than Morbius. It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
I've never seen Morbius.
But it did take place. This was a 2003
Where's
movie.
it hitting on the Venom scale?
I like Venom.
I guess I am kind of the only one here that doesn't like Venom.
Yeah, Venom's pretty good.
I don't mind Venom.
Venom
is actually competently made. This is not competently made, like whatsoever at all. Like there is weird zooms for some reason during dialogues, as in like you're talking, and then whoop 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 whoop. It's like you're in a Kojima game where you have control over the camera zoom. That's what these zooms are. Okay, Ezekiel. I don't know why we had him. He's in the comics. He's actually kind of a cool character, and he's just kind of wasted here. And he, for some reason, changes into a Spider-Man suit randomly, but not all the time, but sometimes. And people are like, "Oh," and then when they first meet him, they're in a subway, right? And they're like, "Oh, he's after us!" And like, can they not see him? And it's like, what's going on? Why can they not see Spider-Man, evil Spider-Man? But they never explain that. They're like,
Is
"Oh
that
yeah,
stepdad."
Yes, that's
Okay.
stepdad.
Okay,
that is
we
stepdad.
just got Antonio Banderas as
Sorry.
stepdad the whole time. I don't know who Ezekiel was.
Sorry, stepdad. They're like, "Oh, he's coming," and they're like, "Oh, who's coming?" And they don't see him. Could they not see him? I'm like, what's going on? What's going on?
I think it was just like there was a hectic moment,
I guess,
and they just were paying attention to a lady freaking out on the subway and not some random spider-esque man.
Oh, and by the way, stepdad is dubbed almost through the entire movie. He's dubbed over, and they did not sync his lips. It is the most distracting thing because you're like, that's not him speaking. Who is that? What's going on? And then it's also okay, like the girls were kind of all right, sort of sometimes, but then they weren't because they're obviously not teenagers. They're way too old for it.
Yeah,
and
from the trailer, I never would have thought those were anything less than like late
well, that's the
20s.
thing is like his like future projection is supposed to be like in 10 years, 15 years or whatever. And they look exactly the same. Like, oh, these, like, I didn't know we were trying to kill teenagers. Like, there's no teenagers. Those are not teenagers. Those are full grown adults. And
but
then
Thomas, they dressed in teenage clothes. How are they not?
Okay,
teenagers?
Sydney Sweeney should not dress like that if she's pretending to be a teenager. I'm sorry, but I was like, oh my. So,
oh my.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Thomas. She's a strong, independent woman.
Sure, okay, we'll go there.
You don't even know.
And then, like, Madam Web's powers don't even make sense because she just got bit by a spider. That's it. Like in the comics, she's like supposed like she's not even from the comics. She's from like the 90s shows where she came from. And then they kind of like retroactively made her part of the comics, but she comes from like the spider deity. That's where Ezekiel comes from too. But she has like all these mystical powers from a spider bite. And they even set it up to be just like scientifically like probable, but not probable, but you know what I mean. There's a scientific reason for it. There's no spooky ass like mystical thing. It's just spider bite. Ooh. But apparently she can tell the future from that. So I don't. Jared, you go. I'm my brain hurt.
I think Thomas was expecting a little too much from this movie again. I think a lot of
movie of the year, Jared.
This wasn't terrible. Like I've seen a lot worse. It's just like a bad superhero movie. It's a lot like old 2000 superhero movies. It wasn't egregious. Like it wasn't like a Green Lantern.
I've blocked out that movie. I don't remember anything about
exactly. I'm not blocking. I'm just forgetting this.
I want to know if it was what was worse, Morbius? No,
actually, Morbius was worse.
I've never seen Morbius.
Yeah,
Morbius was kind of embarrassing as you watch it. This one was just kind of like, this is kind of stupid.
Oh god, the ending,
her powers kind of made sense, like until the whole like she can be in multiple places at once. Because at first it's just like kind of like Spider-Man's kind of like spider sense. He reacts so fast, I guess you could see a little bit into the future kind of thing. But when they started doing like, oh, you can be multiple places at once, it started not making sense. And it
Well,
didn't.
for me, like even like the whole spider sense thing didn't make sense to me, because spider sense is supposed to be um like you can sense danger, but this
Mm,
was like full on. I can have dialogue options from like a quick save event type thing.
yeah.
Like, oh, you said that already? It's like I don't think that's how spider sense works. It doesn't know what you're gonna say. It's just it was so like she would have full on conversations, like a 5-minute conversation, and then
It was like that movie with Nicolas Cage where he could see like
next.
yeah.
Yeah, they even have what do you call it? The Alamo thing had like the preview for that
Yeah.
before this. So
But like the
uh,
later power didn't make sense because I couldn't tell if like the astral projections were tangible at some point because she kind of helps someone up from a rafter as
yeah.
she's falling. But then other times she was just like looking at them to make sure they're okay. It
Well,
was weird.
it was funny is that when she did that, he's just like looks at her like punch, and then she's stopped. I was like, okay, why'd you do that in the first place? But oh my god, like her costume at the end of the movie too.
That was embarrassing.
That looks so
Oh, no.
bad.
Whenever like the movie wasn't too bad until they were in costumes. Like Ezekiel looked fine in his Spider-Man kind
Well,
of costume.
I like Ezekiel when he's in the business suit with no shoes. That's from the comics. I like that. It looks cool because he looks like industrial Spider-Man type thing, or not industrial business Spider-Man. And I think the only costume that looked all right was Sydney Sweeney's one, the black one.
Spider-Woman one or whatever.
Yeah, I forgot which Spider Woman she is, but the other two just look terrible. Like,
Yeah.
and Madam Web specifically looked like okay.
They gave her
Power
like
Rangers,
cyberpunk glasses. And
yeah,
like she had like
like
red spandex. It was pretty weird.
yeah, like Power Rangers from 1997 movie had better costumes than this. So it was just, oh my god, it was bad. I was so mad when I walked out of that theater. So
I think Thomas got a full dose of Sony superheroes in this one.
oh,
And
it was weird too. Like the music was off. Like they had music from the 90s playing for some reason. And I like none of the music lined up except for I think Toxic. I think I was the only one.
I've heard that
But
song a lot recently. It's weird that it's in that movie.
well, back then there was a lot of 90s music playing.
I guess, but specifically when you go for like 2003, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in 2003. Also, everybody in New York seemed way happier than you think for New York in 2003. Because
Oh,
that was only a year and a half
It's not
after
far off.
9/11. Yeah. So but everybody's like, oh, I'm like, I don't think these are how they are, but okay. Um, yeah, I just I think every creative decision in this movie was wrong. Like you had the right way to do something, and they're like, no, we'll go this way. So
you know what
yeah.
pissed me off? O'Neill. He got in that ambulance, went 2 miles an hour, and died.
He didn't even get a car like that truck.
Oh, now
Or
Thomas
Oh, no.
is
We're losing Thomas
going
now.
digital.
There, he's back. He's back.
Oh, did I
Is it
go robot?
Thomas?
Yeah, you went
Yeah.
pretty digital.
O'Neill only got hit by a truck going 2 miles an hour. Like not even like a full on T-bone. It was just like doo, doo. He's like, and then like they bring him out and he's like completely like covered in blood.
He's
I'm
he's
like,
a delicate man.
I'm like,
He
I
has
got
that
T-boned
glass
harder
bone
than that.
disease.
Yeah.
And paper
Glass
skin.
bone disease.
So I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say, Jared? Because my mind is
No.
like hurting.
No, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. It's not the best. It was very much what I thought it was going into it.
All right. All right, traders, take it over.
Okay, so we saw Lisa Frankenstein, which is directed by Zelda Williams, who's the daughter of Robin Williams. And the writer was Diablo Cody, who's done a lot of stuff. So this movie stars. What was the? It was Catherine Newton.
Yeah.
Who? Do you know where she was from? She looked very familiar.
She is from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Detective
Pikachu.
Detective Pikachu, Freaky, and then I know her originally from Supernatural.
Really?
Okay.
She was a recurring character in that. Yep.
And did you know any of the other characters? Who else was it? This
Cole Sprouse from The Life of Zack and Cody, obviously, and then the mom from Spy Kids. I never remember her name, and from
Gina. Yeah, from House of Usher.
Yeah,
and
all
all
Yeah.
the Mike Flanagan movies.
I think that's all.
all right. Yeah. So, do you want to kind of describe the plot with this one, Mike?
Sure, do that one. Plot of this movie, starting with a very sad. Emo's not the right word, and goth isn't the right word. I don't know the right word. You guys know me. I never know words. And there's a word to describe this girl, what she is, but it's neither of those. But she's sad because her mother was brutally murdered in a home invasion by an axe man with a mask. No, they never found the man, and they never really revisit this story, which kind of surprised me. Because I was like, I thought at some point, like, Thomas, you have your headphones off, right? You don't want spoilers. You can't hear me.
I don't care.
Okay. So I thought at one point it was gonna be either she killed the mom, her original mom, and like there's gonna be some twist like that, or it was gonna be something. But they never revisit it. Nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna revisit it, but
Yeah.
they never do.
Nothing did. So she now lives with her father, stepmother, and stepsister, and is going to school in a new town, new life and everything. She's just very sad and she went through, she was diagnosed with that like no speaking, I don't know what it's called, disorder, whenever like a trauma happens, and she wouldn't say really any words until finally where we take up on the story. She's kind of slightly talking, but not very much. And they kind of laugh at the later point of the movie, but she kind of has it super good in her situation, like where she is. Her stepsister, like she even apologized to her stepsister later in the movie because she's very, very nice to her for being like, you'd think that'd be like the nasty stepsister, but it's really the stepmom that's kind of the nasty character in the movie. But anyway, so she's a very lonely person that spends a lot of time in a graveyard and doesn't really talk to anyone else. And all she wants to do is get with this boy called Michael Tenenbaum or something like that. I can't remember what his name is, but he is.
I don't remember his name.
And they have a whole conversation about her and her stepsister because her stepsister's like really trying to push her into getting out, meeting people, and socializing. So they go to a party, be in the movie, or whatever. And that's where they have the conversation about how she's like, well, I hang out this gravestone. I really like this one guy. And I did skip over there. They did have an animated intro to the movie where it's kind of like that, what they did in Harry Potter 7 with the Deathly Hallows. And it's just kind of like black silhouettes telling a story about this musician who died unmarried, was on his grave because he fell in love with someone, but never got to have love in his life. And so that's the gravestone she kind of sits around a lot, and that's her favorite. So anyway, they go to the party. She has PCP for the first time by accident, gets really, really drunk and wasted. This boy called Dylan or something like that feels her up without her permission. She runs away from him. Yeah, it's bad.
Dylan, come on,
Dylan. And then and her yeah, because I was saying her stepsister, she's trying to get her to go out and everything. And she's like, well, what boys do you like? And it was in the trailer, and she's kind of asking her, well, does he have a football bod? Does he have a basketball bod? She's like, oh no, he's the head of some newspaper at their school or something like that.
He's the editor.
The editor. And so you think some geeky guy, but this guy is like very fit. He's very like, he looks like he would be on the football team. So I was a little confused by the casting choice there. But anyway, so she gets drunk, wakes up the next day. And it kind of leads into this pattern you see a couple times where she's breaking ththings throughout the house, and her stepmother keeps getting more and more angry. And her stepmother is probably the most interesting character in this movie because she's a loony bin. She's a therapist, and she's one of those people. They have a scene where she's listening to a book on tape talking about people being empathetic and how, and it's just kind of like those people who think they're empathetic but really just think too much of themselves. And so that's basically just describing her character as it's going. And so she blames, I can't even remember, Lisa, duh, it's the name of the movie. She blames her for breaking this thing, and she's like, well, you got to pay for it. So she has to go take another shift in at a sewing place, which there's a lot of like stuff dropped in. You're like, why on earth was that brought up? Like there's a tanning bed that her stepsister won in some beauty pageant contest. You're like, why is that brought up? But there's a lot of things dropped in there. So like the sewing is brought up with her job. Later on, obviously, she has a zombie boyfriend, which we get to in a second. But where was I?
What?
Yeah, and so they keep. I guess it's not a boyfriend, which surprised me in the movie. But anyway, so she keeps breaking things. Her mom keeps getting angry with her, and
Lisa, you're tearing the place apart.
Until eventually, the mom gets so mad because on the night, I guess it was the night of the party, there was a really bad thunderstorm.
Yeah,
and a green ball of light. It does the thing where the dad is a really big doof. The stepdad, like he's just like the dad in
Just real dumb
in Stranger Things, who just doesn't care. He's just not involved at all. So it's that kind of dad. And he's like, guys, see that giant green ball of lightning? Anyway, it resurrected the guy who with unrequited love or not even unrequited, just non-existent love in his life. And he comes back as a goopy zombie monster and kind of destroys the house as he's trying to find her because she said at his grave that she wished she could be with him, when really she tells him, she's like, this was a funny line, she's like, no, I wanted to be in the ground, like dead, because life sucks. I was like, geez Louise, girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so he comes up and it starts the whole kind of like, well, what are you? Who are you? They kind of start to slightly get to know each other, but she has to hide him. But then her mom, because of the whole mess he made when he first came in the house, her mom's like, I'm sending you to, you're just looking for attention. You're trying to recreate, because she blames the incident of the house being destroyed on a intruder in the house. And she's like, I know what this is, because she's therapist lady. She's like, this is you trying to recreate it for attention. We're gonna lock you up. We're gonna send you away, basically, to a loony bin. And so at this point, it's just kind of this cheesy teen drama. Then it comes to the point where the mom's supposed to go out of town. Lisa Frankenstein's going up and talking to her new Frankenstein buddy, because what I thought the movie was gonna be about was where she would actually fall in love with him. But the whole time, she just wants this Michael guy with the nice bod and editing skills, And so doesn't really care about this guy at all.
And editing skills.
Editing skills. He's an editor. I don't know. No, he was just really.
He edited his body to perfection.
There you go. It's just drawn on there. And so the movie takes a huge turn whenever the mom comes up and confronts her because she didn't go out of town. She's like, I know what you're doing. Blah 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 blah. Frankenstein bashes her in with a sewing machine on the back of the head, and she dies. And like blood starts spilling everywhere. I was like, what the heck? And so he goes down because he kept pointing. He's missing a hand. He's missing an ear. And he's like, oh, keeps doing that because he doesn't talk basically through the whole movie. And so he goes down and cuts her ear off and hands it to Lisa. And she's like, what do you want me to do? So she ends up sewing on at the ear. Didn't work, obviously. She's screaming in his ear and he can't hear anything. And so she has the idea, because introducing things earlier on in the movie with the tanning bed, when she's laid in it, it was like, a faulty tanning bed that her sister won in a competition, so it electrocuted her. And so they have the bright idea in their head that, oh, you came back from lightning bolt from sky, let's go electrocute you in the tanning bed with your new ear. It'll bring that back to life too, like the lightning brought you back to life. And apparently it works, so now he can hear. And so the next victim in our story is poor Dylan, who just wanted to touch a boobie. That's all he wanted to do.
That's all anyone wants.
And so she entices him to follow her into the woods. They end up at the graveyard, and then he chops off Dylan's poor little hand and then throws an axe in the back of his head. So Dylan's dead too now. So then now our story turns into kind of more of a panic of, she wants to not be a virgin when she dies, and she thinks that when the cops find out, she's going to be put on like the electrocution chair or locked up forever. So that's kind of where the second half of the movie takes in a direction, is where she just wants to get laid. And so it comes up to the point where her mom's been missing, the kids been missing, the cops are out, the family's freaking out, her stepsister's freaking out about her mom being dead. And there's little hints going that she's seeing someone else at the point. Anyway, Lisa ends up going to Michael's house before, she gets locked up and taken away. And who's there? Her sister's there in bed with Michael, even though she knew Lisa liked Michael. And so
Michael's the editing boy?
Michael's the editing boy with the bod.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she's like, oh, but he cares about me for my feelings, not just for my popularity as cheer captain. And so who comes in after Lisa yells at them? Who comes in through the door? It's Frankenstein man, who has started to look more like Cole Sprouse as the continued electrocutions have been bringing him back to life. And he has axe in hand. What do you think he chops off from Michael the man, the editing man?
The most important part.
He chops off his junk.
The little
He
man.
chops off Michael's little man. The
He
little
edited
man,
his little man off.
The little man goes flying in a trash can, and the sister's screaming, traumatized. Lisa takes the sister. She yells at Frankenstein man. She's like, "Why did you do that? What are you doing? We're not here to kill him. I wanted to bed him." And then
Wanted to bed him.
So then it comes to her attention that, oh, Frankenstein boy loves her, even though his tears smell like toilets in, what did she say?
Yeah.
A construction yard toilet or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
So she takes her sister. They go off after Frankenstein man, but she's still pissed. She wants to kill him. She leaves her sister in the car. Her sister obviously runs away in trauma. And she goes back to the graveyard where Frankenstein boy is. For some reason, I don't know why he went to the graveyard, but he went to the graveyard. They're standing there.
Yeah, it didn't make sense because she's like, I know where he's going.
Yeah, it's like you think he would go to the tanning bed.
Yeah.
Because obviously he stole Michael's junk. And so Lisa shows up there. She's going to stab him. And she's like, wait, excuse me, you like me? What the heck? And then a cop shows up and he chunks the cop into the grave.
That was funny.
then,
he just picks her up and throws her in the grave.
Carries her like a baby and throws her. And I was like, man, she didn't even try to fight back. And she's like, we don't have a lot of time. You have to bed me now. You have to bed me.
Oh my God.
and he's like,
how come this never happens?
I know. And so he's like shaking his head like, can't. And she's like, why? So she feels down between his legs. She's like, oh
my God,
there's nothing there. So he needed, and so she's like, but we can't. And so he has Michael's junk in a napkin and he hands it to her. So there's a very weird scene of her sewing up his junk.
Yeah.
Sewing the junk onto him while he's staying like a superhero. And then they go and electrocute him. Then they have their bang sash go out. But now they're in big trouble. Everyone knows them. And so what's the one thing Lisa can do now? She has to join her Frankenstein boy in the dead. So it changes scenes where she's sopping wet. They're in the shed with the mysterious tanning bed that's always on. And she gets down in there, and with the electrocution mixed with her for some reason being sopping wet, catches fire. The electrocution, she burns and dies. And yeah.
Plus, he put it on super bronze.
Oh yeah, they went to the max setting on her last goodbye, and then the movie ends with her wrapped up in bandages, and he's getting better and better, and he's reading to her. I assume Shakespeare or some sort of poetry.
Yeah, I didn't really catch what it was.
And
that was Lisa Frankenstein.
But yeah, that was Lisa Frankenstein.
I'm glad I watched the wholesomeness that is.
This movie was strangely raunchy. Yes. What do you got?
Well, so this movie is a mixture of Heathers and Edward Scissorhands. So it really plays up the 80s raunch like it was back then. The best part for me was kind of the 80s stuff because it looks like the furniture looks like the 80s. They have everything, all the like drinks and stuff look like the 80s, even though some of them don't have like what they are because they probably can't get the rights. But yeah, so it's not my kind of humor. It was kind of charming in the beginning, but then it just goes really dark and like Michael said, raunchy. But yeah, it's not graphic or anything. The most you get is like blood splatter.
Yeah.
You got a pee-pee soda on that. They didn't show it.
Like,
yeah, they didn't show that.
Her head was blocking it while she was doing it.
Yeah, you just
clever.
You just see the yarn go up.
It's the perfectly placed cup right before the man takes off the towel.
There was definitely funny parts. The girls because it was like all girls in my theater, and they were cracking up.
They were yes, they were cracking up a lot.
So I think that was the audience was young women, not necessarily young men. But yeah, I would recommend it if you like kind of offbeat comedies like that. If you know what you're getting from like Heathers. And that kind of 80s comedy stuff, you probably like it. And it feels like Edward Scissorhands, or it feels like Encino Man too, as well, because the guy can't talk for like throughout the movie. The Frankenstein guy can't talk. But yeah, well, I guess what was your overall impressions?
I will say I was disappointed because I was looking for. I know you said you hadn't seen a trailer or anything for this. I had seen a trailer, and I think it was by the producers or something. It had something associated with the people that did Freaky, and so I was like, oh, that movie was great. But I was disappointed in how this kind of turned out. The movie didn't really have a flow to it, in my opinion. It was very strangely paced, and like Lisa would change on a dime. Like she went from sad girl to really happy talkative girl to really murderous girl, like that and that. I was like, whoa, there's no ramp up, ramp down. We're just into it. No, she didn't care at all. Like no switches in her brain.
Wholesome to I want to get laid.
Yeah, pretty much, and then to getting laid to rest. But
I see what you did there.
Yeah. But I'm with Joseph. The humor wasn't really for me. There were some funny parts, but it was a little weird being in a theater of a movie that was definitely for like teen couples to go to.
Yeah.
And I'm the only single guy in the front sitting alone. No one else was sitting alone. I was like, all right,
in the corner.
Just like, and then Alamo kept going, bring your Valentine. Here's Valentine.
Oh, I know. I had those ads too. It's like, get your Valentine this. I'm like, just
I don't
get off of
one. Thank you.
Well, get off of it, Alamo. It's February the 18th.
I know. It's past the
there was a really weird edit in the movie when the stepmom, she goes up to the closet because she's like trying to keep the closet closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden she's just in front of her, and it like really I was like, what the heck? Where did she come from? It's like,
Joseph got startled.
Yeah, so this is the movie that made Michael an REO Speedwagon fan. So
were you not before?
I did actually look up. That's funny you say that, Joseph, because I did Shazam it while I was in because I knew the song, but I never like they had it before the
what song was it?
I Can't Fight This Feeling Anymore.
Yeah.
But I didn't know.
Yeah, because they do the slow down version. Oh no, that was a different song.
Yeah, that was a different.
They do it. They played it twice. So
what did they do with whenever he was playing piano with her? Was that song?
Yeah, that was REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, I like that part.
The slow down version was that it's about sunshine.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Bright sunshiny day or whatever. You know that song for it?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't hate it because it's not my favorite song, but so I didn't really mind it. What else?
I feel like there are definitely some good moments in this one though. Like like I said, like one wherever she's doing piano and they're kind of doing that whole moment. And I liked her personality the most beforehand in like the early parts of the movie, whenever she's a little more awkward and less creepy and horny, I guess is the other way to put that. But I think it's just the kind of the pacing of the movie and the flow wasn't really
there. Yeah, there was some funny joke I just can't remember. And I just saw this movie not too long ago, a couple hours ago. There's that part where they're like, "Hey, is there pizza left over?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's got the meat because she's a vegetarian."
It's just literally like it's like you think of Meat Lovers Pizza. It's at times like 4. It's just hamburger,
it's all meat,
everything mixed on. She's like, "I'm good, thanks."
She can pick it off.
Yeah, that's what the mom said. She can pick it off.
If you're gonna want a piece, I'm gonna have to barf it all up.
Oh man, but
yeah, they're funny. Some funny stuff, but
I think it's definitely like a late night, just fun put on movie. It's not really one I'd recommend to go run out and see. Definitely, but it was.
I'm gonna run right now, Michael.
Run.
I told Johnny he would love it.
Johnny and Ari will definitely enjoy this movie for sure.
Yeah.
I have found that Zelda Williams does definitely have a sexual style of humor, I guess. She's done some other like one-off stuff, and all of it seems to revolve around like BDSM or sex. So
goodness,
it's
Bob, I mean, what had happened to your little girl? All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. You guys got any last words on either movie?
I feel left out. You guys went and saw Madam Web without us.
Madam Web.
I'm going. You know what I'm going to say, right, Jared? Like,
Jared, I didn't get to catch your response on what was worse, this or Morbius.
Morbius by far.
Morbius is worse, really? Okay.
Yeah, Morbius. I said was embarrassing watching. This was just kind of dumb.
Kind of dumb. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Like, subscribe, and notify yourself for even more good stuff. And we will see you next time. Bye.